The story begins with three friends, Matt, who is blind, Karen, and Foggy. All three are professional lawyers and undercover agents, and Foggy was promoted a few days ago. Foggy and Matt say it looks like the Dark Ages have begun while Karen tells them to get out of the nostalgia. In this first episode, we are reintroduced to the world of Daredevil. While talking, the three of them go to Josie's bar where some of their old friends have also come. At the bar, Foggy sits down with Kristen, a lawyer, while Karen and Matt are at another table and Cherry, an agent, is with her colleague Kim. Kim tells Cherry now you are retired so have a nice quiet life ahead and he says he'll rebuild the farmhouse. Karen asks Matt to go out but he says we can't leave Foggy alone because it's against the rules of friendship, to which she starts to smile. Kristen says to Foggy, you used to work in a firm earlier, why did you get transferred to this small firm? Foggy says he enjoys working in a small firm and getting to know the clients here. Matt and Karen laugh at the two of them and say that Foggy will leave Kristen on a leash. Foggy suddenly goes outside to listen to the call and Matt uses his powers to listen in on him. In reality, Matt has superpowers and is a daredevil, but no one knows his identity. Matt asks Foggy and he says that he hid Benny in his house after the attack and is now in danger. Benny is their friend and will be revealed later in the plot. Matt leaves to save Benny and we see him in a red suit. While outside the bar when Karen and Foggy are trying to talk to Benny, they are shot and Foggy is injured. There comes a masked man in a blue suit, Bullseye, who attacks people in the bar with a gas bomb. Seeing this, Matt comes back to the bar and starts fighting Bullseye while the rest of the agents start getting people out. Matt and Bullseye have a dangerous fight and both fight their way to the roof of the building. Being blind, Matt is quite injured as he senses his voice and fights him. Foggy dies from the gunshot wound and Karen cries profusely. Matt, on the other hand, drops Bullseye off the roof. Matt begins to cry over his friend's death and takes off his mask to see Cherry, while Bullseye comes back to life. Sometime later, we see Matt getting ready to go to court to file Foggy's case. On the other hand, Luca and Victor, members of a New York business gang, discuss making their shipment tax-free. Then along comes Vanessa, who runs Wilson Fisk's criminal empire and is also Fisk's wife. She tells them that there is no toll tax on Red Hook and tells them that this year we have invested $7.73 million in the business. While they are talking, Mr. Fisk enters and everyone leaves except Vanessa. Vanessa tells him you came late and after you left I made this business bulletproof. He says he is very happy with your work and will leave here very soon as the time has come. The scene shifts to a reporter asking people about the increasing crime and people say that it's been a long time since Daredevil has been gone and now criminals roam free and rob people. Now in court, Matt tells the judge about Foggy and requests the judge to sentence Bullseye so Foggy's soul can rest in peace. The court convicts Bullseye of 11 counts with no possibility of bail. Matt then meets Karen who asks him why he stopped being a daredevil. Matt tells her that he promises himself to let the system handle it and will never be Daredevil again. Hearing this, Karen angrily gives him a red stone and walks away. While cooking dinner, Matt listens on TV about Fisk, who is about to apply to be mayor of New York. The next morning at the office, Kristen asks Matt to meet with a client named Heather Glenn. Matt visits her at a coffee shop and asks her about the case. Heather says Kristen told me to get you therapy while Matt says she told me you need a lawyer. It's actually a date of sorts, and Kristen does it to relieve Matt's loneliness. Matt says we both wasted our time and Matt stops Heather as she starts to leave. They both try to get to know each other and spend some time together. Matt then goes to see Fisk. Matt asks Fisk how could you be here and suddenly your every source of income is gone. Fisk says that he's forgotten the old things and now he wants to do good for this city. Matt says that maybe if I didn't know who you are, I would have believed you, to which Fisk says that this is just the beginning. Now Matt and Heather are dating and Matt hears that Fisk has become mayor of New York. Matt has powers that allow him to hear sounds from afar and focus on any sound in noise. Heather asks him you always talk about Fisk and how you know him. Matt says having known him for a long time, he is pretending to be the messiah of the town but underneath he's a monster. Fisk vows to protect New York, after which he sees Matt from the building staring at him. Wilson Fisk addresses the people of New York City, prioritizing the city's ongoing issues while Matt is listening to her on TV. Two gangsters are trying to rob a man in a subway station when Hector comes in and tries to stop them. They start fighting with him and suddenly a man falls on the train track and gets hit by the train. After this, the other man reveals that they were both police officers and arrests Hector. Sheila Rivera presents Fisk with his new duties as the mayor and asks Fisk to meet District Attorney Hochberg. Rivera points out that Vanessa Fisk's not being a part of the narrative can potentially hurt Fisk in the long run. Fisk replies that both he and Vanessa have important work to do, telling Rivera to give his wife some leeway. Coming to the 15th Precinct police station for work, Matt overhears Hector being pressured and subjected to brutality in the interrogation room. Matt comes to check on Hector, who is being accused of killing a police officer, but Hector insists that it was an accident and he was trying to help out a person in danger. Hearing his heartbeat and confirming for himself that Hector is telling the truth, Matt decides to represent him. On the way to Brooklyn, Fisk gets advice from his associates, but their car gets stuck in the traffic. Fisk gets out to check on what is going on, and upon seeing a big hole on the road, he calls out to the foreman at the scene. Fisk tells him to stop everything and fill out the hole. Being filmed, Fisk uses the situation to get more public support as the mayor who gets things done. Matt fills in Kirsten and Sherry on Hector's case, but they are against him. Sherry says that Hector is being viewed as a cop killer and representing him would be siding against the entire police force. However, Matt asks him to meet his wife. Matt and Kirsten attend the court hearing with Hector, being witnessed by numerous police officers and prosecuted by Benjamin Hochberg. Hochberg starts off by requesting for Hector to be remanded without bail, and Judge Jerry Cooper grants the motion instantly. B.B. Urich, who has been reporting on Fisk and his campaign, goes to record his interview. Urich says that she tried to look into Fisk and found out that Commissioner Gallo is set to retire from the police, which could lead to the force also quitting in protest. Urich then tries to inquire about Vanessa, but Fisk ends the meeting and Urich has to leave. Fisk attends the funeral of Shanahan, where he meets with Gallo, who openly voices his disdain for Fisk, having full knowledge of his past crimes. Gallo claims that Fisk is not a mayor who loves his city but only a criminal desperate for public approval, and it is too late for him to turn. Kristen and Sherry come to talk to Soledad Ayala and tell her that she needs to be present at her husband's trial. While Kristen and Soledad talk, Sherry goes to pick Hector's suit for the trial but instead finds the white tiger suit and the amulet of power. Matt visits Hector, frustrated at him for neglecting to mention his double life as a vigilante. Hector says that he was not wearing a suit during the incident, so it should not be relevant, but Matt does not share that notion. Hector tells Matt that without Daredevil, the streets are left unprotected, so he felt that he needed to step up. At the city hall, Fisk holds a meeting with Gallo, who officially submits his retirement notice, knowing that with the police being understaffed, Fisk would be in trouble. However, Fisk threatens him with a photo of his family and Gallo withdraws his resignation. With Hector's vigilantism being uncovered, Matt and Hochberg meet with Cooper at his office, and Matt requests for Hector's secret identity to be kept out of the record. Cooper ultimately sides with Matt and rules for any evidence related to White Tiger being not discussed in court, to Hochberg's frustration. Heather is approached by the Fisks for a couple therapy. Now, why did Fisk join Heather for therapy? Is this a ploy by him to catch Matt? Is he really doing it to save his relationship with his wife? Matt visits Hector Ayala in his cell at Rikers Island. As the two talk about Ayala's memories of Puerto Rico, Matt promises that Ayala will soon be free and reunited with his family. The tension within the five families continues to rise, leading to a full gang war and culminating in the double murder at Red Hook Pier. Wilson, Fisk and Vanessa talk about business at breakfast, and while Fisk understands that his wife does not want to sit idly by, he reaches for higher goals. Sheila Rivera informs Fisk about the incident at the port, and Vanessa says that five families keep going at each other because neither of them is present to maintain the order. Fisk is unbothered and would rather have them all kill each other, but Vanessa warns him that whoever is left standing will come after Fisk himself. Before the trial, Matt gets confronted by Connor Powell, who threatens to speak out about their past confrontation and Matt interfering with the investigation. In response, Matt points out that Powell was engaged in witness tampering, a more serious offense, so Powell is forced to back down. Benjamin Hochberg summons Powell to the stand and he testifies about Hector attacking him and Kel Shanahan unprovoked, resulting in the latter's death. Matt cross-examines him, inquiring about Nicky Torres being absent from Powell's testimony, while hearing the officers at court talking about not letting Torres testify. Matt openly accuses Powell, Sherry, and Forrest Tam work on getting Torres to the courthouse, so he could testify in Ayala's favor. Powell stops Cherry by but finds no one in his van, as they anticipated it, and Cherry acts as a ruse, while Tam successfully brings Torres in. Matt takes a statement from Torres, however he suddenly goes back on his word and claims that he was not present at the station that night. Matt lashes out and tries to pressure Torres into telling the truth about what happened, but Hochberg and Jerry Cooper force him to stand down and Matt withdraws Torres as a witness. Buck Cashman meets with five families members and talks about settling the conflicts between them, and paying out restitution for the truck hijacking. Luca refuses to listen to Cashman and demands Fisk to come out and talk to him personally, to which Cashman replies that he works for Fisk directly, not just as a mayor's aide. Fisk and Vanessa attend a therapy session and Fisk asks her to tell him about sending Cashman to settle business with 5 families. Fisk says that Vanessa's trying to maintain the peace is admirable, but chaos is also needed to build a stronger order, while Vanessa thinks that her husband is trying to punish her for her affair with Adam. At the office, Matt talks with Kirsten and Sherry about Torres' stunt, and Sherry suggests that the New York City Police Department must have pressured him somehow. Kirsten tries to think of anything they could use, but Matt remarks that their whole defense goes down the drain without Torres on their side. He then says that their only remaining option is to get Hector to take a stand and testify in his own words, hoping it would be enough to reach out to the jury. Hector testifies to the court, claiming that he saw Torres being beaten up by Powell and Shanahan and he only wanted to help, with Shanahan's death being an accident. Matt talks about Hector being used to risk his life to help another, and before Kirsten realizes his angle and stops him, Matt reveals to the court that Hector is a white tiger. Cooper adjourns the trial and summons both Matt and Hochberg to his chambers, chewing up the former for his stunt, as previously got Cooper to keep Hector's vigilantism off the record. Matt claims that his witness was tampered with, so he had no choice, and Hector being white tiger shows the pattern of his good character. Cooper has no choice but to continue the proceedings, and a frustrated Hochberg warns Matt that the DA's office will not forget what he did. Hector tells Matt that he should have talked to him first, as white tiger was not his secret to reveal. Matt understands that but says that it was needed to keep Hector out of prison, while saying that if he gets acquitted, he can no longer be a vigilante. Hector replies that being a white tiger is something more to him than just wearing a suit, to which Matt assures him that he would not miss it as much, speaking from personal experience. With Hector's secret out of the bag, Matt and Kirsten present testimonies from civilians and even other police officers who received help from white tiger. Hochberg tries to convince the jury that just because Hector did some good, it does not absolve him of killing the police officer. Eventually, the jury reaches the verdict and Hector is deemed not guilty on all counts, to Hector and Matt's joy. Matt invites Heather to his place to celebrate and recalls how he and Foggy used to keep a whiskey bottle for the cases they won, as a reminder that sometimes the system works. Watching the news of Hector being found not guilty, Fisk talks to Daniel Blake and orders to arrange him another meeting with BB Urich. Fisk gives Urich an interview, calling Hector's acquittal a miscarriage of justice, despite Urich noting that it was a decision made by the judge and the jury. Fisk argues that he knows well that the justice system is flawed and the vigilantes are a threat that he takes seriously as the mayor. Hector puts on his white tiger suit and gets out in the city to help people, but he is ambushed by a gunman with Punisher's skull insignia on his vest. The gunman shoots Hector in the head, killing him, and walks away. Hector's body gets delivered to the coroner's office, as Matt arrives to find out what happened to his client. Matt gets told that despite Hector being shot from close range, the casing was not found on the scene. Angela Dell shows up and demands to see her uncle, but Matt convinces her not to push for it and comforts her. Del Toro is convinced that the New York City Police Department murdered Hector after his involvement and court victory, and Matt tells her to have faith that Hector's killer will be found soon. BB Urich hangs out with Daniel Blake at the club, but Blake tries to excuse himself as he has to go to work the next morning. Urich says that Fisk is working Blake out too much, but Blake admires him and is glad to have such a job. He tells Urich that Fisk has a meeting planned with Clean Green Haulers about their idea to decrease the garbage output. Urich points out there are union contracts to be considered, but Blake says that Fisk has a plan on how to circumvent it before Urich calls a cab for Blake to get him home. During a therapy session, Heather asks Fisk and Vanessa to open up about something they avoid talking about, and Vanessa brings up her affair with Adam. Fisk does not want to talk about Adam, saying that Vanessa betrayed him, but she argues that Fisk was gone at the time and she did not know if he would ever come back. Vanessa opens up about being fascinated by Adam's art skills, and Fisk reveals that he had a talk with Adam but makes it clear that he left it at that. At the end of the session, Glenn privately asks Vanessa if she feels safe about her husband, but Vanessa assures her that Fisk will never harm her. Leroy Bradford gets arrested for stealing caramel corn from the bodega, and Kirsten calls Matt to take on his case, as Matt and Kirsten has a favor to repay. Matt comes to the detention center to speak with Bradford about his case, but despite the evidence piled against him, he claims to be innocent. Bradford refuses to take a plea and insists on probation, so Matt approaches Sophia Ozola and convinces her to reduce Bradford's jail sentence down to 10 days. Matt then runs into Connor Powell and accuses him of killing Hector in retaliation, but Powell claims that he had nothing to do with that, and Matt verifies it as truth by his heartbeat. Fisk and his assistants arrive at Red Hook Pier, where he presents his project, aimed to fully rebuild the port and revitalize New York City's industry. Sheila Rivera points out that there are bureaucratic hurdles to overcome, not to mention instances of gang violence happening in the area that need to be addressed. Regardless, Fisk is determined to bring the project to fruition and orders Rivera to get through with it one step at a time. Buck Cashman tells Fisk that 5 families are becoming too much of a problem and the havoc would not stop until one of the heads gets arrested or dies. Matt tells Bradford that he managed to reduce his sentence, but Bradford is not satisfied, to which Matt harshly tells him that in his case, he cannot expect anything better. Bradford tells Matt that the last time he served his sentence, he missed his supplemental security income appointment and got his benefits cut, which seriously impacted his living conditions. He admits that he stole the caramel corn, but only because he could not eat expired supermarket food anymore, and Matt understands why Bradford is so upset. As Fisk attends a school choir performance, Blake finds the BB Report article about Fisk's recycling project that called him out for union busting, which he told Urich about. He tells Rivera about this and she warns Blake to keep quiet and let her handle this, as she takes the meeting out of the schedule and informs Fisk of what happened. Fisk summons every member of his team to his office, lashing out at them and demanding to know who leaked the information. Blake comes forward and admits to being the one responsible, telling Fisk that he will accept any punishment and will continue to support him in any way he can. Moved by Blake's loyalty, Fisk decides not to fire Blake or Rivera but warns him that he will not tolerate another mistake. Matt arrives at the place where Ayala died and manages to find the casing of the bullet that killed him, adorned with a skull symbol. He meets with Frank Castle at his hideout and shows him the casing, suggesting that Hector was killed by one of the police officers who idolized the Punisher. Matt questions why Castle refuses to use his skills to help people, but he claims that he already tried and that being a hero never suited him. Matt decides to leave, but Castle stops him, claiming that Matt secretly wants his help to go after those who killed Hector. Castle presses him on the guilt he had been trying to hide, reminding him of Foggy, whom Matt failed to save, although Matt says that it was not about him. Castle points out that Matt avoids saying his name and says that Matt hates himself for failing Foggy and the guilt is eating him from the inside. Matt eventually lashes out and breaks into tears, as Castle sympathizes with him and recalls how he hears his son's voice all the same, and that is why he does what he does. Matt insists that the system already did its part and Bullseye got a life in prison, but Castle replies that he is still alive, while Nelson is not. At the dinner, Fisk correctly guesses that Glenn asks Vanessa if she feels safe around him, and she says that while it is the case, she wonders if she should feel safe. Fisk tells her about his father, who used to be his role model in everything, but he did not teach Fisk forgiveness, so he struggles to get things back to how they are supposed to be. Vanessa says that she changed and is no longer the woman he knew before, to which Fisk agrees and says that she has become something more extraordinary. Matt returns home and tells Heather about his grievances with the system that sent Bradford to Rikers Island for petty theft. He opens up about his feeling like fighting an unwinnable battle before asking Glenn about her day, and she mentions the couple crisis she has been dealing with. Matt and Heather have sex with each other, and while she sleeps, Matt goes to the secret stash where he is hiding Daredevil suits and practices with his old billy club. Meanwhile, Fisk has a dinner at the underground warehouse where he keeps Adam as a prisoner. As all of that happens, Muse carries an unconscious man to his hideout and drains the blood from his body for his next artwork. The episode ends with great suspense, but who is Muse, who killed Hector, and what will Matt do? To know all the answers, stay tuned with Entertainment Hub. On St. Patrick's Day in NYC, Matt Murdock visits New York Mutual Bank to request a loan to expand Matt and McDuffie. Assistant manager Yusuf Khan denies the loan due to the firm's low profits from pro bono cases. As Matt leaves, Devlin and his crew initiate a bank robbery to get $1.8 million for Wilson Fisk. Civilians are taken hostage, including Khan, who's forced to open the vault. After hearing the commotion, Matt returns, plays up his blindness, and is taken hostage. He realizes Khan doesn't know how to open the vault but is stalling. NYPD arrives, and Angie Kim leads negotiations. Devlin demands 3 APVs or he'll start killing hostages. Matt convinces him to release Belinda's husband instead of him, appealing to Devlin's Irish roots. While robbers try to access the vault, Matt incapacitates one and learns the bank only holds safety deposit boxes. Kim buys time with a crude joke Devlin finds funny. Matt uses his hearing to open the locker, finding a diamond Devlin was after. As SWAT raids the bank, Devlin escapes disguised as a cop and gives the diamond to Celine, his accomplice. Matt, wearing a robber's mask, tracks and beats Devlin, who unknowingly gave Celine a candy instead of the real diamond. Khan later finds the actual diamond in his candy bowl. Though the loan is still denied, Khan offers to help Matt strategize for profitability and invites him to dinner with his family. Matt Murdock reflects on his past and loss of Foggy, while Heather visits him, discussing her book on vigilantes and identity. At City Hall, Luca demands restitution from Fisk, who raises the amount and kicks him out. Meanwhile, murals painted with human blood by Muse unsettle Santini and Fisk's team. Angela Del Toro asks Matt to investigate missing persons tied to her late brother's case, but Matt refuses. Fisk ignores warnings about Muse and decides not to alert the public, resulting in more victims. As he prepares for a fundraiser, Vanessa advises him on how to win over the elites, but they mock his authority. Jack Duquesne warns Fisk not to underestimate their influence. Matt later reconsiders Del Toro's plea and begins looking into Muse. With public fear rising, Fisk uses the chaos to push his anti-vigilante task force, inspiring officers like Powell and North to act. As Del Toro disappears, Matt dons the Daredevil suit again and finds her in Muse's lair, rescuing her and narrowly reviving her, though Muse escapes. Meanwhile, Fisk vents his rage by violently attacking Adam with an axe. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos.